All right. So once again, everybody, welcome on a Saturday on Independence Day. Very, very happy Independence Day to all of you. And I'm so glad that you have taken time on your Saturday, on your weekend to talk about a topic which I think is extremely, extremely critical for all of us to be aware of. We all somewhere or the other either have gone through it ourselves or have seen someone really close to us going through it. And I'm sure there have been situations where you felt that you could have done better with a little bit more of information, with a little bit of more of help and knowledge about it. So that's the purpose of this discussion, really. We wanted to bring all those things together and ensure we are able to help each other. Now, the format of this discussion is discussion. It is discussion as it says. And so I would expect everybody to participate and contribute from your own experiences and from your own challenges or your own victories that you may have seen while dealing with anybody who's going through a depression or anxiety or anything in that format, right? I would, however, like to invite and welcome our speaker, very, very special for me, I would say. She's a multi-talented, highly energetic, and one of the most loving women I have personally ever met. Right, Rajalakshmi, we call her Rajam with love, and you all are welcome to call her Rajam. She loves to be addressed that way. And she's currently working as head of operations in ASEA IT Services. It's a Pega BPM consultancy services and a Yesh Technologies company in Hyderabad. Previously, she's worked with companies like Nisam, TCS, Cognizant, and Tanning Technologies in various roles, from a software developer to a project manager, process head, an auditor, and even a trainer. By the way, she's a civil engineer by education, and she has worked in that domain also for some time in the initial days of her career, I remember. Now, one thing that has remained common across all these organizations for her is that she's always been the go-to person for anything and everything. So from planning client visits or even annual day and beyond. But helping people lead better and happier lives, I feel, is kind of her day job. She has counseled many colleagues, and I'm sure some people who are there on this call today who know her will vouch for it. She's counseled colleagues, she's counseled their family, their kids, including my son, her own relatives, and even strangers at times. She is a person who will not wait for a moment before going ahead, taking that first step and saying that, okay, let me talk to this person. Maybe I'll be able to do something about it, right? So hearty welcome to you, Rajam, and thank you so much for taking time. One more thing I want to surely mention about Rajam before we move on is this is a lady who practices yoga. She believes that mental wellness can make everything well in your life. So you have to be happy. The entire mindset has to be that way, and you have to train yourself to do that. And she's an inspiration because she learned Kathak, I think, just 2 years back. Am I right, Rajam? Is that 2 years back that you learned Kathak? Yeah, and she has been a performer. She's performed on stage as well. So not just learn, but perform. So lots to learn from you, Rajam, and would love to hear your perspective, how you have managed different situations or cases that you have handled in your own area. So over to you. Please share with us your journey, and then we will open up for the discussion. Rajam, not audible. Are you on mute?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Anna, for such a long introduction. I don't know whether I'm going to live up to it. And thanks a lot for inviting me onto this forum. But as you said, it's going to be a discussion thing, and it's going to go on. I'll just talk for about 10 minutes. And as I told you, I'll just pass on, the mic to the others who can just start pitching in and, start talking. So happy Independence Day to everyone on this forum. And, hope we all enjoy this forum, this discussion, and take it forward to help people around. So I'll just start with some introduction. It's very interesting. When I was just going through this depression statistics, it's like if you look at the data, it's almost like 15% of Indians require some medical intervention, some adult intervention. And there is always 1 out of 20 people who have actually gone and they have talked about depression. They are depressed. There could be many more, because just I heard Sai talking about a taboo. There's a stigma attached. So the stats that we have in India, I don't think are real, the real numbers. In the last few years, it's been coming up a lot because, you know, the celebrities like Deepika or even Oprah, who have spoken about it, have they have dug deep into their problems, and it's come onto the public forum. But earlier, even now, I mean, if you look at families, I think I have gone through so many people not talking about it. So, and the interesting part is that the age group of 15 to 50 is where this is, you know, striking more, especially in India. Across the world, in India, almost 56 to 60 million people, you know, they are depressed. And there is like almost 3 lakh people, that's a horrible number, who have actually committed suicide. So this is really depressing. The more we talk about it, the more it renders, it renders a little bit of leeway for the others to come and talk about it too. So that is one thing which, you know, now even the middle class families and higher middle class families, I have seen they are talking about it. They're sharing, you know, even in my group, my friends, my cousins especially, they've gone through stuff and they have come out and we have already counseled them. And also I'll go about that topic a little, later. But just wanted to tell that first thing is, if you want to change, or, you know, we need to start acknowledging it. Don't you agree with me? I mean, we need to start thinking that if we talk and if we ask for help, it's not going to be anything. There's nothing wrong in going and talking about it first thing. So we need to start acknowledging it, accepting it. Our parents, we need to start acknowledging, accepting it for our children, our younger ones, our younger siblings. Uh, and then the society will actually start looking upon it, more easily, in a easier way. It's tough if a child is abused, a child goes through a lot of ragging, and he or she feels lonely, is sitting in solitude, and then you don't notice the symptoms at times. You think, yeah, my child loves reading book, my child likes to be locked away. But no, you don't ask, you don't dig deep and find out, because that was never done earlier. But once you start speaking, you start looking at programs, the social media, and then you think, yeah, I did see my son or my daughter or my mother going through this. Why didn't I talk at that time? Right? Before it's too late, before it is too, before the child or the person or, anybody is too deep into that, I think we should start intervening, we start asking them. And there's nothing wrong. First thing we think, many a time I have found that even if somebody doesn't come to you for help, there's nothing wrong in going and asking. I'm not saying, they call me an agony aunt at sometimes, because at sometimes really you're laughing, but you have experienced that in this. Some even people who don't talk to the others have come and talked to me, unloaded their problems literally. And I don't know sometimes where to go about it, but I do just listen, because even that, there is no audience sometimes for those people, right? A head of a company or a senior director, a person who is, in a high position in a company, would never go and talk to somebody else. you know you have experienced it, right? I mean, you have seen it happening right in front of your eyes. So acknowledging is, there's nothing wrong. And and also the fact that if we have fever, if we have cold, you have a ENT, you go and see an ENT specialist, you go and see a cardiologist. There's nothing wrong, isn't it? But mental health is still a taboo. We need to get rid of it. There's no doubt about it. But people like you, Anna, hosting so many topics on this forum, really kudos to you. Every week you show up and you do this amazing job. Really, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thanks, Rajam. I think I'll take a pause there, and I would like to invite participants now. I have a question from what Rajam spoke about just a moment back. So leading from that, Rajam, you said that people are not very comfortable going and talking about their problem to people. Okay, so this is a question, that's an open question for everybody now. Why do you think people hold back and don't go and talk? What is the reason? So I would like anybody to just begin. I want to hear your perspective. Why do we think people are not opening up? Why are we not going and talking to people? What's stopping us?
I think, hi, yeah. I think there is a fear of being judged. people don't want to be judged. They don't want to open up. They don't want to, let that negative emotion come out and let people make use of their weakness or whatever. Like they're scared about the thought, so they
Sure,
don't open up. The fear
sure.
of being judged is one of the biggest reasons why we don't go out and
Great.
speak the
Great.
heart
So
out.
fear of being judged is the first point. Anyone else who agrees to it, just click on the yes. So we know how many of us are aligned with that can be one of the reasons, fear of being judged. And I think it's directly linked to what Rajan just mentioned and Sai also spoke about, is the taboo. Why will I be judged if it is will I ever be judged of having probably, let's say, thyroid? Will I be judged? Yeah. Will I be judged for having diabetes? Then why am I being judged for being depressed? So that taboo is what we need to we need to stop that differentiation. We need to stop talking about mental illness as it is something outside our body. Our mind is also a part of our body. It's a part of the same entity that we are, right? So we have to stop talking about it as different entity. Okay, great. Thanks, Priyanka. Others who wants to contribute?
Yeah, so Anamika, what I feel is, and Rajan, thank you very much. I think that was a great. So what I feel is, if I look at my parents, if we categorize in the professional jargon, the baby boomers, back then the situation used to be different, the environment used to be different, and we have been, especially, I'm talking about a typical middle class and upper middle class mentality. We have been conditioned in such a way that okay, we can deal with this ourselves. It's like a typical I, me, myself syndrome. That's one. And number two, today, of course, in the knowledge worker age, there are so many factors, whether it's internal or external. So according to me, I think this very attitude of that, okay, why do I reach out to people? One is, of course, I completely agree with Priyanka what she mentioned. I think fear of being judged. That's number one. Number two is, okay, I think I can deal with this myself. Any problem doesn't matter. Or at max, I can reach out to people within my who are in a very close vicinity of mine. I think that thing, and we should understand that we are living in the world of interdependence. I mean, at this point in time, leaders at that level, people are actually going in for executive coaching and all. So if everybody is like born equipped with to deal with challenges, then I don't think the concept of coexistence doesn't exist. Okay, so I think this is a very, very fundamental thing that people should understand, that they need to come out of this I, me, myself syndrome. That, I mean, at times I need to reach out to people. Probably there have been occasions wherein, when in neuroscience we call it as impasse, and my brain doesn't work. My 14-year-old girl, my daughter has actually come up with a suggestion. Okay, daddy, why don't you do like this? And then instantly, it kind of gives me eureka moment. I said, yes, you're right. So I think whether it's happiness or whether it's a bit, when we are happy to share with everyone. But when I'm undergoing something which is mentally torturing me and I can't bear it anymore, I don't see any reason why. I mean, you should. So I think that mindset of that I can deal everything, myself. If you're able to break the shackle, then I think world would be a different. I mean, we won't have cases we have seen. I don't want to mention those names because unnecessarily we can't. You see, so I mean, many suicides happening. At even, it's so disheartening to see kids. There's so much of pressure they're under. One is the parental pressure, one is the peer pressure, and especially they're exposed to media and all. Youngsters actually, even the thought of suicide, I mean, it gives me shivers. But these guys, they don't even think. So I think it's a lot depends on we as the because we have seen both the our parent generation, and we're also seeing the generation of millennials. I think we got to play a major role to bridge the gap somewhere and to make them understand that, okay, please, I mean, if help is required, there is no need to feel ashamed about or embarrassed. Please reach out, because at the end of the day, people's attention span is so low. Gossip is gossip is the only way. So let them gossip whatever they want to say. It doesn't matter. But as long as you're at peace, please reach out. So I think that's my take on that.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Sai. And beautifully said, if gossip is what fills their stomach, let's feed them, no problem. If that's what's going to make them happy, let's feed them. And I also think that people's memory span is really small. They will talk about it for some time and then they will shift focus onto some new gossip. Gossip doesn't have a long life, any type of gossip. So the way I look at it is, oh, I'm in news, good or bad, I'm in news. So great. Okay. Who else wants to share their perspective on why don't we go ahead and talk about it to people?
I want to add one more point.
Sure.
Yeah. actually what happens, like what Sai has like said, I want to extend on that point itself. What happens, like as we grow up, we start living in a, mm, idealist world wherein we are hero of our own story. We start wearing mask, and we want to be hero of the story, and by sharing my weakness, that something is disturbing me mentally, or I'm not happy, or I have some issues, I don't go out, because I don't want to break that mask and don't be hero. I want to remain hero. So just keeping that load on my head for so long, that is something that worsens the situation, because this is something which is not being taught. You can go out for your mental issues as well. It's just not in our upbringing. That has to be there. So this is also one of the reasons ki I don't want to break that hero title from my world. I'm living ideal world. Like, you want to be ideal wife, you want to be ideal daughter, you want to do something to make your parents proud. If I do something which doesn't make my parents proud, it breaks that,
Sure.
the crown. So
Very
that is
true,
also a very
actually.
big
I mean,
problem.
very, very well said. Actually, what you have spoken is yesterday, Anna, remember, I was just some time back, I was talking about smiling depression. There's a term for that, actually. So, what they do is, like what you said, most of us go around our chores, our activity, and we drop our kids to school, then we take a laptop, go to office, do our stuff. Get fantastic appreciations, appraisals. We're doing very well in our career. Once you're alone, the entire wheel, there's a wheel behind which you're actually, that facade has a wheel behind which you're actually operating, and then there's a whole darkness behind that, and that never comes out, and that is a huge percentage of people actually. I mean, if you that's exactly what I'm saying. When you start talking to people, you realize, oh my God, he or she has a story, and that is really scaring sometimes. It's a social stigma. It is also the society which is changing. There are, earlier we had so many joint families, as I was saying, we used to. Right now we are into the
I think
somebody to talk about. So the
exactly.
society is also, yeah, and the media so nicely you touched about it. So much of media, the instant gratification that people want, immediate appreciation, word of no. Earlier nobody cared. I mean, even when we were growing up, I can tell you that much, that our appraisal happened or not happened, we didn't bother. Right now, people ask me in the office, 6 months, not even 6 months, how am I doing, ma'am? Will I get an appraisal this time? Hey, you're just here for 4-5 months. You've done a good job. Just wait, hang in there. So that hang in there, the patience, that's definitely gone down. And that what happens, instant gratification, the fast food syndrome. You want to be happy, satiated immediately. That also is causing a lot of sadness in the younger generation. I can tell you about people in 30s with whom I work, and it's interesting to see how they go from being very happy to very sad for silly things, for very silly things at times. Understanding, Anamika, you can just stop me at any time, because we have a lot of things to discuss.
No, absolutely, Rajam, and thanks for bringing that point as well. That the instant gratification and wanting to always be happy. And I think in a couple of my videos earlier, a couple of the discussions also have touched upon this fact, the desire to just be happy all the time. And I think to me that's the biggest problem. People are getting stressed about being happy. I mean, seriously, happiness is something that should be naturally coming to you, right? And happiness to me is just another one of the many emotions that we have. And it is important, but equal importance should be given to other emotions as well. And if I'm failing and I don't know how to give importance to that emotion, that I'm sad or I'm broken, and I'm not paying attention to that emotion, then I am not going to be happier for a longer period of time. If I'm always stuck in only one emotion, I have to be happy, 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 happy all the time. So smiling depression is interesting that also exists, right? We'll talk more about it. Rajam, if I may ask you now, would you like to share one of the examples where you had a very close person going through, a teenager going through a very, very bad phase, and how did you manage that? What went through it, and what was the situation?
So no. Before that, I will just talk about. See, we are not undermining the. So there are different types of depression, Anna. Like we're not undermining the genetic thing, wherein the DNA component itself is, there is an issue there. So from childhood it starts, and then there are bipolar disorders, and I have seen it in one of my very older cousins in Mumbai, like schizophrenia. So I've seen that at very, very close, quarters. So that is one thing. Then there are the one thing that what we are talking about is more of situational, circumstantial one, and there also verbal, physical abuse, cheating by partner, and the entire loyalty shifting. Those are things that it's very tough to deal with. So we're not undermining any of these problems that people are having with respect to even hormonal changes happening in the body. So that is something where things that we can control are the things that we should control. That's all we're talking about, right? Yeah. So I mean, one case. Yeah. So one thing that I've seen at a very close angle is one of my very close cousins. About 3 to 4 years back, she had a failed marriage, and so it was really tough for her because even days of counseling. I mean, she would not get up from her bed. She would not shower. She has a kid, a teenager at home. She couldn't take care of her. It was very crippling. Basically, the entire household fell apart. Even the in-laws. I mean, what would they say? Because it is somebody. There's an infidelity there by their son. So it is not a right thing to have happened. But at the same time, again, there are certain things that. So the whole feeling that she went through was. The whole thing is that was I not good enough? Am I never good enough? Forget about good enough. Am I not enough? And the whole self-esteem of hers at the ground. It was pathetic actually. From being a very well-established doctor, she went to being a person who was at home, not getting out, not socializing, having very gloomy days, and totally cut off from everybody. So what we did was, I don't. First thing is, as I was talking to you, we shouldn't barge into their lives. But once the phone call casually came through, so casually I went there, and then we started talking to her. Generally, it was not about her problem, nothing like that. It was, come, let's go. I just wanted to buy a pair of shoes or something, some silly thing like that. But so since I didn't touch upon the topic, most of the people are curious about you, right? When you're going through the shit, they're interested in digging, into all the nasty details. But here it was really very cool. She came out. We had a great lunch. Went for a movie, which was, I don't know whether she saw it or not, but she was there with me. And then slowly it started coming out, the tears and things like that. And the only thing that I did was, at that time I remember, I was just there. Every time she called me, I was there for her. I gave her a lot of missed calls and messages, all funny messages, so that she would at least smile looking at it. Probably, I don't know what happened, but she got around to at least a normal routine within a year. It took her a year, but the whole thing is about not lecturing her, Gyan. The whole Gyan thing doesn't work. How others are coping and how you're not coping, and you should do this and one should do that and one should not do this. That definitely never works with anybody. It doesn't work with us. It doesn't work with anybody. So slowly she came out of it. The whole thing is about unconditional love. Just letting the person be, let them talk about it, and also making them feel good about the fact that they're enough, they're really good. What's wrong with them? And also hope that she can fall in love. She's so gorgeous. She can just fall in love one day and get married. What's wrong? She's so young, right? So the whole thing slowly started, but she's not there yet. She's not perfect, but definitely back to her practice and back to her life. The child is doing well, and it's pretty decent. Hopefully one day she'll fall in love with somebody, and and I'll be the really happy person for her. So, but yeah, so that's the thing. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that story, Rajam. And I remember we were working together when this was happening, and we had multiple discussions around this. I like what you mentioned when you were speaking about this. You said, don't tell them what to do at that time. Don't preach. They are not ready to listen to your preaching or ready to listen, the judgment that no, you should not be thinking like this. Why are you thinking like this? All the things that you're saying now, that you're beautiful, or you're educated, or you're good enough as you are, and you will find somebody, or even if you don't find somebody, you're just good enough the way you are. So these things would not fit into their mind at that moment, because the mind is really full. It's already full with so many emotions. So one big takeaway is definitely to just be there, listen to them, be non-judgmental. Don't try to deviate the topic, and don't try to give information unnecessarily. Just being in the moment, I think, is what I am understanding. Is that right?
Yes, that is very true. When they talk about it, it's like, it's not that you're pitying them and all that. Who wants pity? I mean, they've come from such wonderful, areas of happiness and all that. Nobody wants pity at that time. Just be there, share whatever. One more thing is the quality versus quantity time. I always, you can't say I've given quality time to my child or to my friend, that half an hour was enough. No. The entire quantity time is actually not it's not at all looked upon very easily, because my mother was there in the kitchen half the time when I was studying in the probably in the hall when I was growing up. But the fact that she's there around, the fact that her presence really matters. So even in this, the fact that you're just there, sit in a room, read with her, doesn't matter. That really helps, I think, at least. I mean, see, again, I'm not a psychiatrist or a doctor, but these are my small experiences, humble experiences, and I think it worked.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. In fact, I remember you telling this to me when I had, my son Ridul at home, and I was like, okay, he keeps asking me, when are you going to be at home? When is your off and all that? And when I am at home, he wouldn't even talk to me. He doesn't care, and I don't know what he wants then. And that's when I remember you telling me that, he just wants you around. That sense of security that you're around. That's all.
Yes.
So yeah,
yes.
Thanks.
I believe in it. I believe in it always. Yeah.
Great. Now, in the poll, I also saw 3 of you have mentioned that you have dealt with someone who's undergoing depression, or you've seen them at least. So I would really love to hear from you on your experience, and if you are willing to share the story, what the case was, and what are some, signs and observations that you had. What could you offer at that point? So anybody, please share. It'll just be a good learning experience for all of us. Okay, so nobody wants to speak up? All secrets here? Okay, that's okay. I will respect that. So I'll go back to Rajam then. Rajam, you do have a couple of more experiences like this for sure. In one case, I remember where you could help the person avoid getting slipped into clinical depression. So, it was kind of diagnosed or identified at the right time. And you could counsel them and the parents and everybody to avoid that person getting into clinical depression. So please share that example with us.
No, this is again another my husband's relative. It's not a very close friend, or it's a husband's relative's. The daughter was going through some. She was bullied, or probably we have so many. I don't know. We need validation about our looks and how we dress and how we talk and whether we are fair, dark, whatever. So all this actually builds into the psyche of a teenager who goes to study in a technical school or colleges. And there, it's not that easy, man. I mean, we have been through it, right? The bullying actually affected her, and she went through something which told her she's not supposed to. Now she's not going to do anything in life. Now the whole thing about coming down the hill started when she started not acknowledging. So the parents went and brought her back from the institute, and she went through so much of trouble that at one point she mentioned she wanted to kill herself or something like that, and that was a very low dip in this household. So what happened was so it's my husband's cousin, right? So she at some point, somebody in the wedding somewhere told, they just referred to it. We got to know about it, and now again, my husband has shared some time with her in during his childhood, so not caught up really very well. So it was a casual conversation, but at some point we got to know, and I started talking to that lady, and we got to know so many things, Anamika, that the child was not interested in doing anything. That's it. I'm not going to study for this year. What are you going to do about it, right? So she was doing, engineering, and now I'm not going to do it. But so the whole thing about the parent not feeling comfortable is that we think 1 year, ek saal, and all the neighbors start asking, "Kya kar rahi hai bachchi ghar mein? Why is she back? All okay?" Things like that. So first thing is you need to start addressing your own insecurities, your own vulnerabilities about this whole situation, which they did, and then they stopped caring about the neighbors. And slowly, what happened was they just let the girl be. That 1 year is gone in her life. That's fine. So in that 1 year, from not being able to come out of the room, again sleeping throughout the day, this girl used to sleep throughout the day. In the night, she would come out and go to her neighbor's house. Her neighbor was a good friend of this lady. So the acceptance part is also very important. The neighbors, the friends, she used to sleep there with her, on the divan or something, and come back in the morning. So that the whole thing was, it was just the trust that she's going to be okay very soon. They gave her time. Of course, they took her to counselors. They did take her around the city and outside also. They took her. But at all the places, she would say, "I'm fine. I don't want to study. That's it. I'm fine. Who's saying I'm not okay?" But she would not eat. The weight started dipping, and slowly, things started falling. It was really bad, 2 years. And slowly now, what happened was she took up a trip, I think, with one of her friends, a backpacking trip to Himalayas. The only condition was she used to call the parents regularly and touch base with the parents. And after a month, she came back. And the best part was she was exhilarated. I mean, in the sense, she was so happy about things. And she said that at least she didn't speak about death, suicide, and all that. She started eating, cribbing about food, which means she was normal. She started cribbing about taste. She started cribbing about the whole household, how dirty this is. So mom was very happy. She was slowly getting back to normal. Now she's getting back to her distance learning or something like that. But she wants to do some vocational training also on certain things. She doesn't want to do engineering. That's fine. But she definitely is slowly picking up the threads and, started getting back to normalcy. So hopefully, I think, so in my case, in this case also, my role was nothing but just talk to this lady once in a while. She would keep cribbing. She's not like, in Telugu mein bolenge to, 1.5 saal, I mean, 2 ఊరికేనే waste అయిపోయాయి life lo. What is waste అయిపోయాయి? You're with your child, man. I mean, that's more important, right? So that's fine. 2 years gone, doesn't matter. Just let her be and let her start. And I'm sure she's going to be a successful girl because she's very, very intelligent. So, yeah.
So Rajan, if I'm allowed to give my, because thanks for bringing up this wonderful example. So, and Anamika, to answer your question also, so it was not that I was hesitant. Actually, I was just trying to, create that. So this happened with me. So I actually come from, of course, now my parents' mindset has completely changed, but I still call myself that, okay, I come from a typical Andhra, South Indian, very conservative family. So my dad used to work with a company called BHL, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited. Okay, so I did my schooling from Haridwar. Earlier it was in UP, but now it's in Uttaranchal now. So me and my sisters, we did our schooling from Kendriya Vidyalaya Central School. So wonderful. I mean, if given a chance, me and my mom would love to go back to Haridwar and settle down there. My honest speaking, it's kind, a small mini township, and the concept of friendly neighborhood, which used to be there. Now, of course, I don't see it anymore happening. But then that friendly neighborhood also had its own negative consequences. So I used to be very weak in mathematics. So much so that I think I remember if in 6th or 7th standard, I was still 5th standard. I did my schooling from St. Mary's Convent School, and then my dad wanted to put me up in Delhi Public School. So in the interview, the principal asked me, okay, how much does a dozen contain? So my answer was some weird 11, 13, 14. And my entire family, both maternal as paternal, they're like full of engineers and doctors. In fact, 95% of my cousins are all settled abroad. I'm the only alien for them, but who is in India, who never had this inclination to go abroad at all. I'm telling you a typical mindset, that how actually children get. So this concept of comparison is something which I hate the most. I mean, I detest it to the T. So it was 12th, and as expected. So of course, I mean, then this gentleman named my father's colleague. I still remember his name, Mr. Kiran Kumar. He was the one who actually generated that interest for mathematics within me. So IIT, any which was either IIT or AIMS. So these used to be the only two things back then. I'm talking about 91. I completed my 12th. So we only knew only two things. या तो IIT में जाओ, या फिर आपका जिपमेर एम्स में होना चाहिए, या आर्म्ड फोर्स मेडिकल पुणे उसमें होना चाहिए, या जिपमेर पॉन्डिचेरी. These were the 4 or 5 institutes at least I had in my mind. So in my school, we were about 10 of them. We used to, I'm sorry, it's a little, I'll try and make it a little short. So we were 10 of them, and we used to be in the top 10 ranking. Sometimes I used to be in 5, and then Deepankar used to be 6. He used to be number 1, I used to be number 2. Of course, I was never in top 3, so to say. So when the IIT results came, I couldn't qualify. Okay, of course I did go through. I did qualify DC and all, but IIT in chemistry I scored 0. My dad didn't tell me anything. Of course, he was shocked. But then my neighbors, it reminds me of Three Idiots when Madhavan actually goes and tells his father, "Jab main bimar padta hu, to Kapoor sahab aake meri madad nahi karte." So that was the case. It was like a volley of questions, like as if I felt as if the floodgates are open and there's a deluge of water falling on me. Ki, boss, what? I mean, did I commit a mortal sin? No, I didn't know whether it was depression or stress or what, but I was, I actually went into my cocoon for almost 3 or 4 days. I mean, I couldn't digest the fact that, yes, and I started comparing myself. Till then, I was not in this, I never had this mindset of that, okay, Deepankar is, it used to be healthy competition, but not so much so that, you get into a negative, and those days, emotion, stress, we were not aware of all those things. All we knew was physics, chemistry, math, that's about it. So I literally locked myself in the room for about 4 or 5 days, didn't come out. My dad said, okay, why don't you drop, prepare again? I said, no, I don't know what it was. It was a moment of, realization or what. I came out of that, whether it's a self-cure or what, I don't know. I said, no, I'm not going to, get into engineering at all. Come what may, whether you curse me, you want to kick me out of the house, doesn't matter. I'm not into engineering. I'm not into medical at all. Let me do what I want to pursue. And the same thing when I look in the hindsight, today's kids, my wife is a little strict with my daughter. I said, never, please, for God's sake, don't get into the mode of comparison, because the moment you start comparing her with others, I'm telling you, she may have been a bright student at this point in time, but it won't take even a second for her performance to actually dip. Within overnight, she will lose her confidence. At this point in time, she's an all-rounder. My days, I was so scared to even go onto the stage to speak something. But look at the kids today. But on the contrary, look at the kind of pressure they are into. So what I'm trying to put across is, Rajam, that it's, this comparison word, and I'm still seeing, even today, we may be so literate and we talk about big concepts, whether it's professional life or personal life, whether we agree, we don't agree. We still, in a conscious or subconsciously, we tend to get into a comparison mode. Yeah, this guy is performing. Well, why am I not performing? Okay, if this guy is getting an appraisal, what wrong have I done? I have been consistently performing, but still, I'm still in the same position. Now the reasons could be different. Maybe I'm not packaging myself, but at the end of the day, what comes is this word comparison. I think we should do away with this, and this is applicable irrespective of age.
So well said.
Very true. Very true.
Drastic repercussions if we get into this.
Beautiful point. I'm reminded of a very interesting, technique, and this is, don't get offended, because this is from a dog training video, and I learned it from there, and I thought it's applicable to anybody. That video said that avoid telling your dogs a good boy or a good girl when they do a good thing, or when they do something, when they listen to you, because then you are training them that only when they listen to you is when they are good, otherwise they are bad, And what the video said, that instead of saying good, you should rather say thank you. thank you for listening to me. Use that word. So just change your verbiage and you will change behaviors of people around you. And I think,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I think that is so powerful, though it just came from a dog training video, but I think it's so powerful, even with our own kids, even with our own spouses, our colleagues, our family members, everybody around us. We have this obsession with telling people that they are doing good as compared to 1, 2, 3, 4. Doing good compared to what? To your point, comparison to what am I doing good as compared to? I am just good the way I am, and you're just good the way you are. And acceptance, I think, just believing that we are good in whatever we have, and the only competition should be us. Am I better than what I was yesterday, intellectually, psychologically, behavior wise, in every manner? Am I better than what I was yesterday or not? So that should be our only competition. Thanks so much, Sai, for sharing your your own story. Thank you so much for that. Anyone else on the discussion who wants to bring in any other learnings that we can talk about today? I do have 2 questions, and one specifically for Rajam. I'll bring that up in a moment. Anyone else has any pointers to share, please, your experiences? Okay, I'm going to take the silence as... Go ahead. Rajam, is that you? Okay, so I do have 2 questions. Okay, and this is again open questions for everybody. Anybody should contribute, not just for Rajam. What are some signs that we can be informed about that when you observe this, then it is possibly going into that? And it is not like, okay, because you observe this, then that's why it's depression. No. But what are some points that we can, some signs that we can keep in mind where you will find people around you and you can be a little more alert in doing the right thing and probably lending that listening ear or reaching out to a professional help when it is actually required? So what are some signs that we can look for? So open for everybody.
I think frequent mood swings and maybe a behavioral change, if there is a pattern, I think mood swings, what I have seen, and that includes my own self. I mean, because at this point in time, you're absolutely fine. The very next moment I get irritated for no rhyme or reason. So frequent change in mood swings, I think for me is going to be, I mean, in a very typical layman language, that would be my way of, or maybe some drastic behavioral change. If I know the person very well and I see, no, this is something which I've never seen before, I think that should be the initial. I won't use the word depression as such, but then yeah, it could be a word of caution. It's better to at least clarify the boss what's wrong.
What's wrong? Sure.
Okay, is there anything wrong? So can we discuss? Can we talk about it?
Sure. Thanks for sharing that, Sai. Sony says sleeping all the time, not interested in anything. Angry, yes. So I think always angry, shouting, or in my experience also, I have seen extreme behavior. It can be even like Rajam said, the smiling behavior. One particular behavior goes into an extreme. So whatever they're doing a little too much of it, either sleeping too much or talking too much or eating too much, or suddenly becoming too extrovert, suddenly becoming too introvert, suddenly changes in behaviors like Sai mentioned. So those can be some observations, at least that I have seen around me and people who have spoken to me. Others, any other thoughts? What other signs can we look for or should we be aware of?
The entire thing about listlessness, no? I mean, I don't know. I'm like just looking around, and there are people who are not even listening to you, just looking away into space. Now that really worries me sometimes, because you see it happening in your training sessions, right? Wherein earlier people would throw chalks, and yeah, if it's for love, it's fine, man. But you should also recognize these symptoms, right? I mean, just the extreme is restlessness, but the whole thing is about the vacuum. I think some of those symptoms, as Sai and the others mentioned, the sudden change, erratic behaviors, and anger, small things, just trigger anger in you. And Sai brought about such a beautiful topic about, we can have another session for it, the comparison. Sai, we compare every day. Appraisal chal raha hai abhi. So people, it's a cutthroat world, man. It is like, so you have touched upon a very raw nerve, in most of the people. So it's like, And Anamika is like, on the verge of probably, I don't know, you must be running that whole compensation and benefits thing right now. So, so yeah, I mean, yeah, but yeah, jokes apart, comparison it comes out of a very deep-rooted feeling of also a little bit of insecurity. It comes from also the way you're brought up. I'm telling you the difference because everybody compares. Some people compare for a day and leave it. During appraisal, they'll compare, they'll leave it, move on. But there are people who hang on to it, who keep nudging thoughts. I mean, thinking about it, and the entire nagging thoughts about even after they go to sleep, and they get up in the middle of the night, because I hear these all the time. We couldn't sleep. Unko ye mila, unko ye grade mila. Are we not good enough? Are we don't be? You're comparing apples to oranges. So you're an apple, somebody is an orange. Don't compare. Just look at it from your standpoint. It is easier said than done. Not easy at all, actually. But it also stems from the way you're brought up. The security part comes from home, Anna. And that is one thing which is very crucial. With our children, the amount of security you give, the quantity time you give, not to irritate them and be around them all the time, which I try. I used to, but that doesn't work. But definitely the quantity time does matter, and making light of things. It's not life and death, man, till it is, really, right? Why do you think so much about it? Just let it go. And if there is a person who is going to instill this in you all the time, it really helps. If that help doesn't happen, is the time when you start looking for other, things. Yeah, engineering, medicine, the kind of pressure, the media pressure, the results being out, the people's photos being shown on TV everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. It really, people do succumb to those kind of negative thoughts about those comparisons. And but yeah, I mean, we have to go with the world. You can't stop any of it. So you need to work around that, So that's the whole thing.
In our DNA, Rajan, because if you look at from the corporate this thing, I mean, I think at times the comparison is essential also, because if you look at the bell curve, the extreme right is where your top performers, they lie, and in between the 60-70% is basically the average performers. So imagine the task of HR. It's such a such an Herculean task. Then of course now majority of the organizations are actually doing it with bell curve. Now it's no longer a concept, but still. In the back of our minds, it's embedded, it's deeply embedded. Otherwise, on what basis am I going to give you an appraisal? There has to be a benchmark somewhere. Okay, fine. If Rajam is a good performer, Sai, you're relatively, despite of your best efforts, you have the potential, but then your performance is that typical P and P comparison. It's there. You look at the 2x2 matrix. It's a comparison. It's a time versus performance. Again, it's a comparison. X-axis, Y-axis comparison. So, but yeah. I use specifically from in the personal life, because anything we often say that let's try and demarcate, draw a line between the professional life and personal life. But how often people are able to do that? I mean, either which ways, something happens at your office, it gets reflected in your behavior when you come back home, or something happens at home, you go to office, it gets reflected. And I've seen this in those who are able to clearly discern between the personal life and this thing. I think they are great. I'll be more than happy to go and meet them. Boss, come and tell me, how do I do it?
Yeah.
Having knowledge and then execution is are like two different aspects altogether. So I think comparison to some extent it's a fair game, but beyond that, that's going to be a disastrous proposition.
Great.
But that also comes from failure, right? We are not able to, say, for example, in my case only, as you said, you spoke about, there are a lot of situations in my life where there was a time when I went for, before I joined TCS, I'm a civil engineer with education. So I went for TCE interview in Mumbai. So I grew up in Mumbai. And can you believe it? As you said just now, this is what happened to me. I went to the interview immediately after my marriage. Out of the panel of 4, 3 were ready to take me, 1 guy rejected me, because the answer that I was supposed to, probably the solution for the probably a bridge or whatever, I didn't do it properly, and I was rejected. Now this rejection is something which creeps into our daily, totally. It really corrupts our entire process of trying to become happy and trying to smile and things like that. So it totally messed up that entire month. And the only thought kept coming, कि if that girl who was not even scoring well, she got into TCE, why didn't I?
Yeah.
You know, but the whole thing is again taking priority of the other things start taking priority in your life, right? And then you start slowly forgetting it. It's still there. Since I'm speaking about it, it is there, right? But it slowly starts moving away. It has to, right? Because you're pushing it away. You don't want to think about it. But yeah, I mean, this comparison and things do exist. It's not like it's not there. Yeah.
Great discussion. So thanks thanks Rajam and Sai for the beautiful discussion on comparison as well. And I think it's very closely related to the topic that we are speaking about as well, because these are the reasons that actually contribute to people feeling low, getting anxiety attacks, or getting stressed unnecessarily. Sai, to your point, when people who, in my mind, people who claim that they have a perfect balance between work and life, I think they are personally very stressed then. Because if you are not being yourself, you're being stressed, as simple as that. And if you are putting that veil, changing mask all the time, one mask for your children, one mask for your spouse, one for your parents, one for your boss, one for your colleagues, if you're constantly changing the mask over a period of time, you'll forget your own face. What do you really look like? What is the real you? And that is the confusion. That's the biggest confusion a human being can have, that what is me? Why do people in old age go back to finding themselves? Why do they start? The reason why people start going to, religion and going to God and spirituality, only because they're trying to find themselves. They're not trying to find someone outside them, actually. They're wanting to find, what am I? Where did I come from? Where am I supposed to go? So those things are happening because we are masking ourselves so much. If we learn to live the way we are, be ourselves the way we are, yes, you will have to polish yourself in different ways for different situations. And that's enough. You don't have to keep on wearing masks, so that's essential. Great. We're almost at time. So I'm going to use another couple of minutes now. And let's conclude the discussion by bringing out some good, important learnings. Okay. So I would want each one of you to contribute either by speaking or by, messaging on the chat window. Tell me at least one thing that you will do or you can do when you see someone in front of you, around you, going through anxiety, low phase, depression, whatever it can be. It may lead into depression. It doesn't have to always be there. It may lead into depression. So what is that one thing?
Anna, one thing, sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to make one point. The entire thing about mind, body, this mind, spirit, body connection, it's not overrated. We need to actually start thinking about it, because the dopamine and the oxytocin and all these hormones start kicking in once you start, because I've personally experienced it. You start walking, you do yoga, you do whatever, just take your dog out for a walk, Casper for a walk, you feel the difference, right? So the entire thing about doing an exercise, pulling the person out from the gloom into an outdoor, making them walk, it really helps, at least according to me.
Great point actually there, Rajam. And I had a question around it and I'll ask now. Okay. So, I have personally gone through depression myself, right? And when I went through depression, this is something that I struggled the most with, where I was just not willing to get up and get out and do any exercise. And I used to get all the more, my situation used to get all the more worse when someone used to force me to do so. That no, you should exercise, no, you should gym, no, you do this or do that. And I would break down. So how do you handle such a situation then? I do have, some great solutions that came my way. Thankfully, my family was extremely supportive and they figured out what was working for me. But it did create, initially it did create a lot of issues. I remember when I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. Don't force me into it. And the moment someone used to force me, I used to feel that, oh, so I'm not good enough the way I am right now. I have to do something to be good. So how do you handle that? How would you force someone to do it?
The Newton's third law of motion, right? Inertia of rest. So that whole thing of breaking that itself is a challenge. Okay, so first thing, if you do it, you feel exercise is something which I'm not like a big propagator of exercising, but I do it regularly. And you need to make, if you're tired, if you're depressed, I think you need to make more time for it. But that to start with, it is definitely an initial problem. But once you do it now, it becomes a routine. You don't do it, you feel bad. But it's nice to have a family member. We're not educated about this, right? Who is going to talk when you're depressed and you're sleeping? Chalo beta, exercise karenge. Nobody's going to say that, right? People are not going to say that. People are going to say, "Acha beta, aa jao, baitho, TV dekho, hamare saath ya jo gappe shappe lada." Arey, mujhe nahi gappe ladana hai yaar. I just want to go back to my somebody who can take you out for a walk. How many people really have that? You know, now with COVID, I think we should not go out too much. But otherwise, I'm talking about. Right?
Yeah,
So
I can share my experience then, you know. So what happened was there were two things that we were trying to do to help me get out of it. And I was not able to get there. I was not able to do it. Neither was I able to exercise, nor was I able to meditate. Those were the two things that even my counselor had told me that you should try and do this at least. Okay. So what my husband did, one, he started not asking me to do exercise, but he started asking for help, as if, you know, I was going to do something to help him, which translated into a form of physical exercise. So it kind of came indirectly, and slowly I started liking it, and we got into a habit of doing that. For the meditation, I had a big fear of darkness, for some childhood reasons and all that stuff, right? So I would just not close my eyes, because every time I would close my eyes, I would feel that I'm going into a black hole and I'm getting into a dungeon. And so I would just not close my eyes. So I couldn't meditate. So this man would sit for 20 minutes, 40 minutes, holding my hand while I was doing meditation, walking me through the meditation. So I think having that one trustworthy person who can just be around as much as it is required, not force you, live with you, walk with you, you know, not pull you into their pace, slow down if it is required to come to your pace, and then walk with you. You know, it's like a bridge. There's a bridge that you need to cross. You are standing on this side, the other person is standing on that side. Instead of asking them to cross the bridge, walk that way, go till that side, hold their hand, talk to them as much as it's required, slowly walk them to the other side of the bridge. And I think that kind of worked beautifully for me. Within, I think, 9 months, I was off my medication, I was off my counseling, and here I am, you know, in just 3 years after my depression. It was 2016 when I went through this, and 3-4 years, and I'm back absolutely normal. So yeah, I think it does help to have one person at least educated enough, knowledgeable enough, and compassionate enough to be able to do that for you. And my ask is, because I know not everybody is blessed to have someone like that around you. That was my prime reason, prime purpose of starting the Reach Out group. You know, why we started this was because of that, because I know not everybody is going to have this. So we are here to be that helping hand, be that listening ear as much as we can. You know, we may not be experts, we may not be able to solve your problem, but we can at least be there to listen to you when you need us. And so please reach out to us. That's the reason why we are here. Yeah, and spread the word. We want to just make it easier and normal for people to talk about these things. You know, get rid of that taboo that Sai spoke about. It is so essential that we, you know, get away from differentiating between physical and mental. It has to be just one. How are you feeling? That's it. Just you. Not how are you feeling physically, how are you feeling mentally. It doesn't have to be two different things. Okay, great. So over to my last question, if I may, is that I want everyone to contribute on what is that one thing you could do when you have someone around you going through something like this. So I'll pause for a moment. I'd love to hear from you, or at least in the chat.
Okay.
Sure. Thanks, Soni. Yes, if they have one trusted person, they will. Sometimes
I would like to add. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Like, I don't know, I was in depression or what, like I had a very bad phase in my life as well. I'm not going into the story, but what is my takeaway from that phase of my life, which I think was somewhere from 2 years to 4 years. Like, it took me to get back to the normal. Two takeaways which are my funda, and I'll use if I see somebody going through a bad emotional phase in the life. Are one thing I'll tell the person, that it's okay to be not perfect. You cannot be perfect or hero for everything. So stop this perfection, the pressure of being perfect, and it's okay. Even if you don't get, like the examples Rajam shared is the apt example. Like the girl has already spent 1 year in engineering. Now she doesn't want to do engineering, and that is something which is not a good news for the family. Nobody wants to accept that. But to enforce that decision of, I have wasted my 1 year, she had to waste her 2 more years. So this is something which a person can go through. So say no if you want to say no, and it's okay. You don't have to be perfect, one thing. And second thing is, like, I know it helps. We want somebody to hear us, not judge us, but that somebody cannot be available all the time. Sometimes there is just nobody actually. Everybody has their life, they have priorities. They can sit with you for 20 minutes, but they can't sit with you for 20 minutes, 20 days. Maybe you want 2 years to go through this. So it is very important to realize during the phase that my happiness is my responsibility. So these are the two takeaways, like, for myself. Like, my happiness is my responsibility. Even now, whenever there is an imbalance in my life, I'm not able to handle the office and the home and the kids. So I just tell myself, it's my responsibility. Okay, sit down, don't do anything, take your time. I actually pamper myself. If I don't want to do anything, like, I spend the whole day just entertaining myself the way I want to entertain myself. It could be a music, it could be dance, it could be doing nothing, it could be ordering my favorite food, whatever it could be like. So we need breaks, and we need to know how to take care of ourselves. So these are the two things which should be like, directly or indirectly, should be told to that person. Somewhere we forget that the reliance on the family or expectations takes us to the depression. That does happen. So it's important to be not perfect, to understand that it's okay to be not perfect, and to accept yourself as you are. Just be yourself.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that,
So
Priyanka.
so beautifully she has said it.
Thank you.
Anna, I mean, Priyanka is really, I mean, you got to be happy for your own self. I mean,
Yeah.
there, as she said, even when I'm telling you, I mean, I don't want to take too much time, but when my father and mother, Anna, you're very familiar with them. When my mother used to be slightly sad because all the three of us were in the US at one point, my dad would say, okay, they'll come to you, they'll just spend maybe in a month, probably 10 days with you. And after that, they go back. And then what? So you're going to sleep and you're going to be sad. So you got to be taking care of yourself, even if you're not feeling well. For a day, as Priyanka said, for a few minutes, they'll come to you. Oh, I'm so sorry. What do you want me to do? And you would give my example. She'll come and she'll take care of you for a day. After that, she's going to be busy with her life. You need to take care of yourself, your mind, your body. And so well said, Priyanka. Very, very nice. And do things for yourself, pamper yourself, things like that. So yeah, beautiful, really.
Yeah, I just want to call out one thing here. I think there is an important balance that we are talking about. So we don't want to close on a confusing messaging, right? We spoke about people should be okay to come and talk. We also spoke about not wanting to be the hero all the time and solving all my problems myself, and making it okay to talk and ask for help. And now we are speaking about owning our own happiness, being responsible for our own happiness. So these are to be balanced. We are not saying that just own your happiness all the time. And if you're feeling sad, figure it out, just be positive, get up and do something about it. Don't go and talk to people. No, we are not saying that. There is a limit to it. When you are not able to solve your problem, it is okay to not be the person who has the solution, and it's okay to go and ask for help as well. So that is very, very essential. Exactly. Don't try to just take all the responsibility on your head also.
And it's okay to be not perfect in your life. Sometimes, yes, like, failed marriages happen. Your kid is not scoring the score you expected the kid to perform. That's okay. You're not getting the appraisal you think even the same story happened with me as well. Like, somebody who is less deserving for me got the better promotion, and I think I was I had greatest numbers in the team, and I was sidetracked. And it actually, it disturbs your good night's sleep. You can't sleep for a few days. It happened frequently, and then I just told myself that this has to stop. This is wrong. So that check, now I have my check. Whenever something like this happens, I just check, keep a check there. This is wrong. I don't want to go into that phase. These things are not that important. It's okay. I'll figure it out myself. So that is also there, should be there. Because it's all about your mental health.
Absolutely.
When we ignore
Yeah,
our
so
mental peace,
being a little indifferent, Anna, thick-skinned, it really helps. I mean, thick-skinned not to everything, but definitely it helps.
things that are bothering my mental peace. Things that are bothering my mental peace. That if those conditions, those situations, those people around, they are not bothered about my mental health, then why do I want that negativity to stay in my mind? Something happens to happen. Okay, that's okay. If somebody is not liking whatever you are doing, that is their problem. That should not be your problem.
That's right. Yeah.
So this is something I think all of us.
Great.
Like, we need to
very well articulated.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we are
inspiring.
you know,
thanks to Anna for this. She's the one like,
Excellent, Anna.
who acted as a channel.
Yeah.
She channelized this thought in my mind.
Yeah, and good. She kicked back so well after her episode, and I'm so proud of her. Really wonderful, Anna.
Thanks, Priyanka. And, you know, I'm so glad that we're all talking. And that was the purpose of this entire discussion, to begin the discussion. I'm more than happy to schedule another such discussion, bring all of you again and continue this topic, talking more about it, add more people to it, because I think that's the starting point. You know, if we want to make a change, we have to begin talking about it and making it okay to be talking about it, right? We have the 14 minutes over short time and nobody wants to leave. Everybody is very comfortably discussing, and that's like the beauty of the topic.
I would like to add just one last point, Anamika and Rajan. I hope, you know, very important thing is, you know, it's the term assumption. I mean, you know, these depression, stress, tensed. The fundamental question that we should be asking ourselves is that, do we really know the meaning of stress, tense? I mean, sometimes it happens that we use these words so casually and frivolously that, are you depressed? Why are you even using that word depressed? Even if the child or say the adult could be just tensed.
Yeah.
If you're not able to label it, I think, you know, just for the heck of using word, I mean, sometimes communication could be a disaster. It could be the major hindrance for all the, I mean, probably it could be one of the, you know, if you ask somebody, you know, the way person communicates it to him or her could be one of the reasons for stresses or you know, being tensed or being depressed. Because we, you know, in an attempt to use, or rather, Anamika, I heard using the word, you use the word verbiage. Why? I mean, why can't we, you know, keep the language plain and simple? So assumption is, I think, another thing that we tend to assume कि यार इसको मेरी मदद चाहिए, मैं जाके बात करूं, भाई क्यों मदद चाहिए यार? आप ये पूछ सकते हो ना कि is something bothering you? Rather than asking this, I mean, are you depressed? Why the heck do we even have to use that word depressed?
Beautifully said, you know, and I think I'll bring this back to home as well. There was something we were talking about in general, and, you know, it's very simple thing, okay? And in a very casual conversation, I said, okay, that's very depressing. I was like, do you even know the meaning of the word depressed? You know, avoid using that word in such a casual connotation. It is a serious word. So use it responsibly.
Responsibly, correct.
Yeah, you know, for example, and I'm deviating a little, but for example, the word rape. It's a very, very serious word. I have seen people using that word as a joke. Bhai, mera to rape kar diya. You know, you even understand what it means.
Absolutely.
You know the emotion related to it. You know, how can you use that word as a joke? So I think you're right, very, very right there, Sayan. Thanks for bringing that. It's so important to use these words responsibly. Know the meaning, be aware when you should use and when you should not use. Don't jump into a conclusion that just a person.
To use judiciously, just because you know the meaning of the word, you just can't be using anywhere, everywhere, with everyone.
Great.
Very true. Very good point, actually. So he said the difference between I'm sad and I'm depressed. I mean, there's a hell lot of difference, man.
Huge.
You know, right? Yeah. So, I mean, very well said, because no, and this is very, very apt, because today, even in the office, again, as I said, I deal with my whole team is very young lot, and they talk about, kya hua yaar, aise mat karo, itna sadness kyun hai, 2 दिन नहीं आओगे तो ठीक रहेगा, just chill man, you'll be fine, इतने depression में मत चले जाओ, सब ठीक हो जाएगा. I mean, like, so casual. Even, I mean, this happens right in front of our eyes. And then I will not go and talk about, hey, Gyan, you know, why are you doing it? But this is happening. This is what you have, I mean, I think even you might have come across, and that's the reason you might have, you know, you have voiced it. But yeah, People do use it very casually.
Yeah. Great. So thanks for sharing your answer, Priyanka. I'll share my answer and I'll ask everyone else to pitch in on what is one thing that you can do. One thing that I feel, two things I think I can do for everybody that I see around and I am. One is listening, non-judgmental, non-autobiographic, absolutely no need to give any suggestions, no need to give any solutions. Just be there, listen. Be like a blank board where they can vent whatever they want, absorb it like a sponge. Be sure that you squeeze that sponge later so that it doesn't impact you emotionally. That's also essential. So listening is one I think I can do. And second, I think it's very essential to stop asking people to think positive. I think that is the worst advice we can give to anybody. If Sai and I or Rajam, all three of us exchange our spectacles, we may not be able to see as clearly as we are seeing right now. Right. So for each one, their own, what positivity means to me and how I will become positive and how you will become positive and how Sai will become positive is completely different. It's as unique as our spectacles, So I think we should stop telling people to think positive. That's the commonest advice I have seen people. Hey, think positive. Yeah. Why are you thinking so negative? Don't worry about that. You're always so negative. Just stop thinking negative and everything will be fine. It doesn't work. People are not fooled that they are not using that. If it was that simple, they're not fooled. It's not that simple. So those are two things that I think I can contribute to the world, to the people around me. Let's hear from others. Okay. Yes, indeed. Good point.
Hello there, Anna. This is Sakesh here. I must really appreciate the wonderful session that this has been for us, and for me, in fact, I would say
Rakesh, I think you should show yourself. Come on. Why are you hiding, Rakesh? Rakesh Kapoor, he's in my office actually.
So can you see me there?
Yay!
Hi. So I mean, this has been a very good session. There were a lot of things that I was basically trying to understand, because many a times, right, what really happens, we connect with people, but sometimes they're very happy, but you never know that really sad inside. So couple of things that happened with one of a friend, when I was basically working in one of a company. She was my actually college mate, and she was expecting the second child, and there was some gap that had come between her and her husband, and this gap was really building on. And I think there was a problem where she did not know who to reach out, because her mother stayed very far and sister was in the US, and she was absolutely not understanding who to reach out to. So only thing I think I did at that point of time, I realized, was maybe she wanted to connect with somebody, and she wanted to speak her heart out. As you are very rightly mentioning, right, sometimes we have to just listen to the people, not talk. I think, and that was one of the instance, I believe, I had to really stay patient, because one, that she was expecting a child, and she was undergoing a lot of trauma, because she was complaining of not having peaceful sleep in the nights, and a lot of challenging situations that she was facing, where husband was not really supporting, already a kid who was grown up some 7-8 years, and now expecting a child also was a trauma for her. I mean, she was undergoing a trauma because there was nobody to talk. So that was one of the phase I felt, somebody was actually speaking her heart out, and only listening was the biggest, solution I was able to provide, because she was letting her complete heart out, and I was able to listen to her. And I think today, when I was listening to you all, and it was, I was just connecting to the whole episode that happened there, and I felt really glad that I was part of the session, because somewhere I realized again that it is just not about talking and talking, but it's also very patiently about listening to somebody can become a good healing solution for the other person. So I think really really thankful to you all,
No, thanks so
Rajaman,
much.
Sai, Anna, and everyone. In fact, Priyanka also, she mentioned a lot of wonderful points. Sometimes we sit silently and suffer, but it is important to let it go out. And thoda sa jhatak do sab kuch, just get back to your normalcy, and it really helps.
It's so true.
Right?
Thank you so much for sharing that, Rakesh. Thank you.
Always, anytime. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, who else do we have on the call? I would love to hear, at least, if not see you, and hear your pointers. What are you taking away from the session before we close? Sony, you have chatted enough. I would love to hear you now.
People are writing actually.
We have 21 chats. Okay.
Okay. Hi, Anna. Hi, everyone. This is Sony.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I learned many things, like not to preach, not to judge, and don't dig into their problems. If anybody wants problems. So, and yeah, all the things I remember, but I'm trying to speak.
Great. Thanks, Sony. We'll conduct a test later, okay?
Okay.
Okay, great. Anyone else want to contribute to anything else that we may have missed or we should take forward as we close the session? We should close in the next 2 minutes. Okay. Assuming nobody, I would be more than happy to bring this forum together again and take this discussion to a next level. And I think one topic that Sai brought in, which can be dwelled further deeper, is how do we educate and spread awareness, and what can we do at our level to help people stop comparing? I think that's an essential element of that may be contributing to these negative thoughts and negative feelings, inferiority complex, feeling of I'm not good enough, or feeling of I need to be perfect. And all of this arises from some level of comparison. So is there something that we can do about it? So I'll be more than happy if you're interested and you think that we should do something like this, just ping me and I'll schedule something. I'll take the load of putting this together. No worries on that one, but I would love to hear you all again together. So Rajam, Priyanka, Sai, Sony, who else is there? Anyone, any last thoughts, any last comments, closing comments?
Yeah, I mean, from me, I would, yeah, sorry, please go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead. Please, go ahead, man.
No, I just wanted to, I mean, this is a good thing that you said that the next session topic you're announcing. I think that's a good thing. We can bring in some more people to talk about their experiences, because I think we have loads and loads, at least I have loads and loads of experiences on this while we were studying engineering, then work and all that. But today's topic about depression is not undermining the professional help that most of us do not we do not take our children, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, sisters, friends to any of the psychiatrists. I think even that actually at some point, it is causing a lot of issues. In the US, I think every person, even a normal guy who is working like us, will have a shrink, right? I mean, probably because we here have friends and whom we download our problems on. But we should never undermine the intervention of a psychiatrist or a doctor, talking to them, and not the medication part of it, but at least the counseling part, because they do their job well, most of them. And I've seen some of my friends get back to normalcy with a lot of help, with all the childhood issues, things like that. They bounce back. And some of the rituals help. Some people ask for rituals, do this at this time and write a diary at some time, and whatever it is, those things really help, Anna. I think we should also focus on that when we are talking about depression.
No, great points. I think very essential to reach for professional help at the right time. For example, in my case, I'm so glad that I did. I had to take medication, obviously, but I'm so glad that I did, because that actually helped me. And it was something to do with the chemical, locha in my brain, which had to be sorted, which had to be treated. It was not something that I was assuming or I was dreaming of, or I was behaving, difficult. It was not that. So yes, it is. I think it's extremely essential. But again, to your point, Rajam, I think it's extremely essential to find the right professional help also. In my experience, I had to change 3 different counselors till I found my own counselor that worked for me. And in fact, one of those counselors that I went to made my situation worse. I still remember that day. it just made it worse. She kind of made me feel as if I was making too big a drama out of all of it. And that's the word that she used, and it broke me further. So I think it's very essential to reach out to the right people, reach out to your friends, your family, find if they have any contacts or any references of experiences, before you go into just finding someone randomly. Thanks for sharing that, Rajam. Sai?
Yeah, so I think awareness, because in the beginning Rajam did give us the statistics. In fact, I was not aware of that. India is ranked number 2. I think this is like after polio. There should be a very, very strong campaign for is depression. First of all, self-awareness that okay, what exactly is depression, and then how can you debunk some of the myths that's around. Especially India as a country, we still move with we still have that herd mentality. One person says that okay, yaar, isko to pata nahi kya ho gaya hai. पता नहीं क्या है, अब तक अच्छा खासा ठीक था, बंदा पूरा बिगड़ ही गया, जिंदगी बर्बाद हो गई है. What nonsense, all that rubbish. I think self awareness, awareness, not self awareness, awareness of this term depression, stress and being tense, these emotions. I think that's very important, because otherwise, once this is in place, people will be more open and actually coming out and open and talking about, or we can reach out to people without any, without any hesitation what the other person might actually feel. So once this is in place, the rest all associated stigmas will automatically get eradicated, I think. So awareness campaign against depression, I think, Anamika, thank you, and to you and Rajam and such a wonderful audience participants here. I think it's a fantastic topic, because one is, it's very loosely used word. We don't even know whether, what, if you ask me, I didn't know that there are 2 types of depression. One is a clinical depression, which is each one of us, everyone faces clinical depression. Now, today, I think after this topic, at least my awareness level has gone a bit high. At least I'll be in a much better position to at least even talk about depression. Yeah, so I think great job. Look forward to many such sessions, Anamika.
I'm so glad. Thank you so much, Sai.
Thanks, Anna. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Sai.
Thanks. Priyanka, you were saying something, dear.
Just want to conclude this session because we are already like 30 minutes up the time. It is a wonderful session today, and I learned a lot. In India, as Rajam said, we actually download the problems to friends, and it all boils down to the intelligence of the friend. If the person is, kind enough to listen to you, and like, this is how the counseling goes. So when I was I was almost to the normal. I used to, talk too much to one of my female friends, and she used to listen to me a lot. And I always used to feel, and why she doesn't, give me any advice, or even if she's listening to me or not. Maybe I'm, bothering her too much, and I'm calling her too much. But now after listening in this session, I could realize that it is very important to have, unjudgmental listening, and she's actually not disrupting my conversations. She's letting me be whatever I want to say. So thank you so much for making me realize that.
Thank you so much, everybody, and wish you a very happy Independence Day again. And have a beautiful Saturday evening, a wonderful Sunday, and a blessed week ahead. We are coming up with the next session is on 29th of July, and this time we're talking about cyber psychology. So a lot of crime happening in the cyber world, and what is the psychology behind this? Why do people get susceptible around it? What are we sharing? Why are we not sharing? The bullying and the trolling, all that's happening. So very interesting topic. Another member of Reach Out Group, Hima, is going to talk about it. She's a certified person to talk about these things. So I will hope that some of you and almost all of you can join the session and spread the word. That's my final ask.
Any restriction on the age? Because I would like my daughter to be a part of that.
No restrictions at all. No restrictions.
I hope that should be okay.
I would confirm with the content once. I will be reviewing the content. I will be reviewing the content. I will let you know, Sai. I'll message you separately.
Sure.
But yeah, please join, spread the word. Love, Live, Learn is a compassionate initiative that I have taken, and I really want to only spread positivity, love, and compassion as much as I can. And I'm so blessed to have so many people joining me. Rajam, Priyanka, and so many others who are there, Gusoni, who are already there in our Reach Out group, and Sai, you already feel like a member to me. Do let me know if you'd like to join our WhatsApp group as well. We do share some, discussions around that as well. and just spread the word, everybody. Thank you so much, and good evening to you all. Bye.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Sai, Priyanka, and others who have come in. Rakesh, you too.
Yes.
Sonia has been here. Everybody's chatting so much, actually. Anna, you need to do something about it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you
and
so
in
much.
fact, thank you
Rajam.
everyone. We're already having a blessed weekend, so thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks. Thank you,
Thank
Rajam.
you.
Thanks for your time.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.